LASK chance saloon? Not this time for Celtic, surely. Martin O'Neill's side have 1 foot on the Champions League gravy train. But how do they approach tonight's away leg in Austria? Hello, I'm David Currie, and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Tuesday, the 25th of August. Tonight's the night Celtic can book their place in the Champions League.
I don't think that we want to be sitting in. I think that we can play. I think we'll get opportunities.
Martin O'Neill's side beat LASK 3-0 at Celtic Park last week with some show-stopping goals. Can they keep it up in the away leg?
I expect to be put under pressure quite a lot during the course of it, but we just can't sit in there.
Just while we're at it, how strong is this Celtic squad? Do they have enough strength and depth for the whole season?
Regardless of what the result is or whichever competition we happen to be in, then we've got some days before the transfer deadline, and I hope that we will get some people in.
We'll fill you in on everything you need to know and a lot of stuff you don't really need to know right here.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sport Scotland.
Okie dokie, let's welcome our guest this fine day, Gordon Waddle, veteran, can I say that? Veteran Scottish football writer and former Celtic striker, Cillian Sheridan. And you two have been spending some quality time together, I believe, in advance of this podcast.
We'll call it prep, shall we? Yes, by pure coincidence, we spent the afternoon with another BBC alum yesterday in Tam Cowan, taking in his show at the Fringe. So yes, well let's call it kind of quality preparation time and be done with it.
Team building exercise.
Look for some of these gags to seep into today's proceedings.
I don't think that would be appropriate for this time of the day. But
no, well, guys, with no game at the weekend, Celtic fans, I guess, Cillian, still basking in the 3-0 win from last week, and it was a night to remember, right enough.
Yeah, definitely. I think they just I know they've had a pretty solid start in the league, but just that performance as a whole, I think kind of probably took everyone by a bit of surprise. I think there was a lot of nerves leading up to the game. If almost like can they transform what they were starting in the league into that big game? And they certainly did. They blew me away. And I think the same as everyone else. But it just shows when they add quality to the team, especially in the attacking side of stuff, they're reaping the benefits of it straight away.
Gordon, not to be too negative here, but LASK did create chances and had a couple of goals ruled out, rightly so, for offside, but that's just enough to make Celtic a wee bit wary, perhaps.
yeah, I mean, if you'd said after 10 minutes one of these teams is going to win 3-0 here and keep a clean sheet, then your guess wouldn't have been Celtic at the time, probably. But I think Cillian's right. I think their quality shone through. I mean, it's interesting because this kind of, the playoff round or the qualification process for the Champions League in general has not been a happy hunting ground for them, mainly because over the years they have failed to invest in their team at that level for these exact games to get in. I mean, if you look at over the years at the managers who have been frustrated by their board not going out and spending on a Casper Who, on a Camille Duran or whatever, and then saying, if we get there, we'll invest the money. Whereas this time they've actually invested, and it showed. I mean, these guys, especially Who is built for this level of football, and he, although he never scored the goals, he shone, I thought, leading the line and showed kind of what kind of player he can be, not just scoring, but actually the football that he plays as well. And I also think that these guys are now bringing out the best in Benjamin Nygren as well, who obviously was a phenomenal scorer for Celtic last year, but I think playing around better players makes him a better player as well. But yeah, I mean they've failed so often at the qualifying process. I mean, if you look back over the years at Ferencváros, Cluj, AEK, and I mean I think I was having a quick look back, and the last time they actually got through a qualifying process to make the Champions League itself was 8 years ago, 2018. I mean, I know they played in the groups then when they qualified for the groups, but they're straight into the groups since then. But when they've had to actually make it through, this has been a step that they've faltered at, and I don't know. I can't see them failing. They would have to fail very, very badly to ship a 3-0 lead, I think, especially with the quality that they've got there.
Gordon's mentioning Who and Duran there, Cillian, and these are like, I don't know, maybe I'm being stereotypical here, but they're kind of Celtic charisma. They've got character, as well as looking really, really talented players.
Yeah, I've loved them, both of them, as soon as they came in. It looks like they've such enthusiasm. They're always looking to get involved in the game. They're never really beating themselves up after if mistakes are made. Especially Casper, who after his first game, like, he missed a few chances, but you could never tell that he was feeling like devoid of any confidence or anything. He just looked like he doesn't mind missing a chance. He knows he's going to get another chance, and even in that first game, you could see he was always trying to bring other players into play. He looked quite selfless. And then Camilo Duran, like, he's comes into a new club and is pushed out of his normal position and still doesn't look like to be sulking or anything. He was always looking to be involved in the game, looked tidy, looked eager to impress. And off the ball as well, I thought he's been quite impressive. But probably the biggest thing is just how quickly they've impacted everything. I think there was a little slight worry that maybe all the work had been done too late in the summer, whereas everyone knew what Celtic needed and it was taking so long. But the fact what they've brought in has been such good quality, and they've hit the ground running so fast. I think it just proves when you actually go out and spend the money for that kind of quality, the results you get are instant.
So they got the instant 3-0 win over LASK in the home leg at Celtic Park. What do you think, Gordon, they can expect from the hosts tonight? Are they going to have everything thrown at them from the get-go, do you think?
Yeah, I saw their manager last night saying that to use, and he was the one that used the idiom, but like to say that they will throw the kitchen sink at Celtic, and I don't think they've got much choice, do they? I mean, the thing is, if they go at it early, then Celtic but then they did that the last time and Celtic withstood it. I thought, although he looked a little bit shaky in the first kind of 5-10 minutes, I thought Carter Vickers and Trusty, to a slightly lesser extent, looked very solid. They headed the ball the way they were pointing. They cleared their lines well and did what they had to do. I think Carter Vickers still looks a little bit shy of fitness in terms of I think he's over his injury, but I think he still has to get a little bit of his kind of sharpness back. But I think as the game grew last week, so did he. And I think they're going to have to hold pretty firm in the early stages. They need to watch. They did get caught behind a couple of times in the first 10-15 minutes last week. But yeah, LASK will go for it. There's no doubt about it. They'll go for it early. They will fence, because if they score, as they just about did in the first 5 or 10 minutes this time, all of a sudden you've got a little test of character coming up, and you're thinking, well, if a second goal goes in, then is it panic stations? If Celtic were in their shoes, that the atmosphere at Celtic Park would be rabid in the first kind of at the start to try and get their team going. Whether LASK have that kind of backing or not, I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see. It'll be really interesting to see how they approach it. But they've only got one way to go. Celtic can choose. Do they sit? Do they try and add to it? LASK can only do one thing.
Well, you mentioned Trusty there. He's a wee doubt. He had a stomach upset, Cillian. Is that just a case of calling for Scales to come in and step into the breach? if he's not fit?
No, I think he should be fine. I think generally, if I was going to say a little sore stomach isn't something to. It wouldn't have been something I didn't think to keep me out of such a big game. I think he'll be fine. I would be a little bit more concerned if it was maybe a slight niggle or a muscular thing or something like that. But the fact I think it was just an illness with his stomach. I wouldn't be too worried about that. And I think the two of them have had a good start together, Trusty and Carter Vicker. So I would imagine Martin O'Neill will be pretty eager to kind of keep them as a partnership as long as they can.
I suppose Gordon there highlighting what you could maybe say is a minor dilemma given the scoreline is whether Celtic go and try and add to early on and kill the game off or just bide their time.
I think they have to go and do. I think they have to play similar in how they got to be 3-0 up. I think they know. I don't think there was that much surprise that LASK were going to come and attack them. They're an attacking team in the first leg, and I think they know it's going to be similar. Obviously going to be more onus on LASK to score now in this leg. So I think Celtic have to. There's no point going into it and just. It's almost like getting flashbacks of the summer with Scotland. Like you're going into games thinking, right, we can maybe just lose 1-0 here or lose 2-0 and we'll still go through. It doesn't work. It's a horrible game to try and play that way. Going into games knowing that. I think they just have to go at it like they did the first game. They're going to get chances. LASK will attack them. There's going to be spaces open, plenty of counter attack. And now we've seen that Celtic do have the players and quality that can punish teams that will give them space and chances. I think it could be the perfect game for Hasim Hassan to come into his pace. So I'm looking forward to see how he kind of gets a shot at this game.
I was just thinking there that given Martin O'Neill had said that this time last year he thought we'd be watching the Champions League on TV, Gordon, how big an achievement would it be for him, do you think, to get Celtic through to the Champions League and the new format for the first time? He's never led a team in that wide.
He hasn't, and I think also his presence. So you have to kind of ask: is it his presence that has seen them push the boat out? Cillian will maybe know better than me. Like he's obviously he's been there, but for so often we've looked at Celtic managers, whether it's been Brendan Rodgers or Gordon Strachan or Neil Lennon, get to this stage of the season and say, I could be doing with a £6 million striker, a £7 million striker, and this guy's here's top of my list, and I'm not getting him. And privately they'll be seething at the fact that over the years Peter Lawwell, hedged his bets at the wrong times, and you just wonder if is it Martin O'Neill's sheer kind of weight of charisma and character that has, he's come in and said, I'm giving this another year, and they've thought, right, well, let's, he's persuaded them because let's face it, they don't have a track record of going and getting these guys for these games. So, listen, good luck to them. I think if they achieve this for the first time, like an actual qualifying game to get them into these the league phase without actually having just gone straight in there, then it's a step up for them. As listen, we should all be pleased to see it. I think having teams playing at that level where every Tuesday or every other Tuesday or Wednesday night you're going to be getting a top class set up coming to Glasgow, or Celtic playing away. That's exactly what you want. You need teams to be playing in these league phases between now and Christmas to give the game some momentum.
Right then, let's broaden things out a wee bit, folks. I'm just thinking there, 8 Champions League games minimum. Celtic get through, 36 league games, League Cup, Scottish Cup. The question is, does Celtic have enough strength and depth in the squad for the rest of the season? I think I know what the answer is going to be here, but if not, how many, Cillian, do you think they need to bring in, and in which positions?
What if I said yes, they do have enough?
Well, we just moved on.
I don't. No, they don't. I don't think they do. I think it's probably full-back areas. Right, well, depending how Alistair Johnston comes back. I think how Colby Donovan plays tonight will be a massive like barometer of where he can be. I think he set a really high standard last week. So looking forward to see how he does. I think some backup for Kieran Tierney, because we see he just can't play 90 minutes. And then midfield to probably replace Arnie Ingles. I thought he was a massive miss near the end of last season. You could really see the difference when he came in, just that engine and legs in midfield. So it'll be interesting if the players they've been rumoured to be after the last week or so, especially given how much they've already spent. It's unheard of in the last few years for Celtic to be spending like 20-30 million plus on players. I know they've kind of gotten used to seeing players go the other way. So maybe one or two more in the attacking areas, but I think probably midfield and in that fullback area is probably where they need to invest the most. Goalkeeper, I'm not that worried about. I think Sinisalo's been pretty reliable. I don't think I don't think many saves last week were amazing saves. There were saves you'd expect him to make, but I find sometimes that's the sign of a good goalkeeper, that they just don't make mistakes.
So you're going, Cillian's going what? 2 full-backs, somebody in midfield, maybe another couple up front. No new centre-back required?
I don't think so, no. I think Martin O'Neill seems happy with Trusty and Carter Vickers, and it's probably a bit harsh on Liam Scales, given I feel like he was probably one of the positives from last year, kind of came out from, gets a lot of criticism, but he's always kind of there. He always gives everything. I think it probably just depends what level Celtic want to get. I think we can see at the minute, it seems as if the board is now backing the fans' ambition and managers' ambitions. So it'll be interesting to see if they do go out and upgrade on what they already have. That's probably, I would say, centre half pairing seems to be okay. It wouldn't be one where I'd be alarmed to go out and get.
Centre mid was interesting. You know, I mean, you're talking there. I mean, they've obviously brought Bauer in already, but centre mid, when the decision to let Engels go was when they did. I thought it was very interesting that Martin O'Neill came out publicly and said that Engels was worried about playing in these games because he didn't want to get injured, which is why they basically just let him go. And obviously there was big money came in for him as well. But the fact is that they could have kind of said, you know what, you're not going until we've got through this. But if Engels was not as committed as he needed to be for these games, then I can fully understand why O'Neill didn't push for him to stay for these games, and also then and then came out and said it, just so that people realised that was at the root of why he went when he went. There was an element of risk about that, but it will be very interesting to see again, because I think he does need replaced. I don't think Bauer's a direct replacement for him, and I also think that there's an element where again, although he has been an Iron Man over the years, I'm not sure that Callum McGregor can carry that midfield by himself for, as you say, 38 league, and he will want to play 38 league games, 8 Champions League games, and plus however many Premier Sports Cup games and Scottish Cup games that they have to play. He'll want to play them all, but at some point, he's not getting any younger, and I think I think the wear and tear has at times shown in his game in the last year or so. So I think he needs some help in there as well. I agree with Cillian. I think that if he can keep his centre half pairing fit, he'll be fine. I think Johnson looks like he's going to be out for a couple of months. Yeah. So and therein lies the problem for him, because it looked like he was going to get moved on. Or he was, he had the chance to move on to Everton, so that's going to be kiboshed for the moment.
But then he did play Gordon when the transfer talk was looming large over him. Correct.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it just shows that it's different strokes for different folks. That doesn't surprise me that Johnson did. He seems like that kind of character. and I think that's why he is beloved. I think the fans will certainly be sorry to see him go. I agree with Cillian. I thought Donovan was excellent in the first leg. And again, if we come back to this position of you hope that they show a little bit of faith in him and don't necessarily cut the legs from under him and bring in a right back ahead of him. Let him play. He's 19. If he plays to the standard he played last week, then the same as when they brought Kieran Tierney into the team. He didn't. He wasn't an instant success. And in his first game, people were saying, "Oh, this boy's no. He'll no do." And and look at the career he's had. So give Donovan a run and let's see how he looks. I think that the replacement of Engels will be their priority. As and when they get through, and I think they will also probably surprise us again by spending some quality money to bring in a quality player.
Celtic fans would love a youth academy player to establish himself in the team again.
Of course they would.
It almost seems like that's an anachronism, Cillian. But if Donovan can prove his worth, then Celtic fans will love that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you always notice fans, they always want a youth player, an academy player to do well. You probably get a little bit more of a second chance when it comes to players like that. I was saying it before, I think last season was you could see so many players struggled for whatever reason last season to play and to perform. So for Colby Donovan to come into the last season was a tough season to come in and try and establish yourself, where just nothing really was happening or nothing was clicking. So the fact that he kind of had that tough introduction and getting a little bit of criticism, I think, for how he was doing, and he's come through that and shown, well, this is actually this is what I can bring to the club. This is what I can do. I think he'll probably have learned more through that last season than he would have coming in and flying and everything going well and never really having any real adversity. And you learn more through the difficult times of playing than when everything is going peachy.
Yeah, so Alistair Johnston out till October, Gordon. Let's not forget Jota. The timeline is for him to come back in October, maybe at least before Halloween.
Yeah, he's going to be an interesting one because has he still got what he had? In the brief glimpses that we've seen of him, I'm not sure that's still there. But again, maybe he just needed time. Maybe he will be reinvigorated by those around about him as well. I mean, let's face it. When at his peak, in his first spell, he was a terrific talent, and he was a menace in the wide areas. So again, I think I would have him in the team. I mean, who else have they got? They've got Tinecti still there. In the wide areas. If I put Jota, I would put ahead of him in the pecking order probably. But if they're going to be playing in a similar fashion, but. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I agree with Cillian. I think they're short, for a full campaign. I think they need some investment there, but they'll have the money to do it. This is the thing. This is the beauty of being amongst the elite is that you are guaranteed vast sums of money. And let's face it, this has always been the criticism of the Celtic board is that they were sitting there with 70, 75, 80 million pounds just quotes sitting in the bank, and for once they have gone out and said, right, okay, we'll do what you're asking now. So the fans, it's funny. Obviously, there was last season there was a lot of friction. We have not seen it so far this year because they've got what they want. So is it a truce that will hold? Who knows? They've got what they want for the moment, but what's next? I think that's going to be very interesting for the dynamic at Celtic as well this year, and when it comes around to AGM time and all that, that nothing really much has changed behind the scenes. And also, I mean, the other thing that they've got to think about, and this sounds daft at this stage of the season, but they have to have some succession planning. Martin O'Neill is not here for the long haul. He said he'll give them another year, but this year for them should be a year where they put a plan in place for what comes next, and they have to start thinking about that now.
Martin O'Neill will change his mind, won't he, Cillian? He'll hang on for another couple of years.
Coming in his summer.
Another good season of another league and cups. Good run in the Champions League. I don't know. It'd be hard for him to say no. But one thing I thought you could see a lot of influence from Sean Maloney in that last game. I thought the amount of times they played out from the back under pressure. I feel like before that, a Martin O'Neill team would probably go direct a lot quicker. And I just thought there was a lot of Sean Maloney coming out in that last game.
All right, folks. Just before we go, confident Celtic will go through. In a word.
I think so. Yeah.
All right, on that positive note, we'll call time to today's proceedings. Many thanks to Cillian and Gordon, and most of all, folks, thanks to you for listening. Remember, we're here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast bright and early every day. Make sure you don't miss out. Subscribe on BBC Sounds and have your push notifications turned on in your phone. And Andy Burke presents Sports Sound tonight on BBC Radio Scotland with live commentary of LASK versus Celtic. On air at 7, kick-off is at 8. Have a fantastic day, folks.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.